What's up, you guys? Welcome back to our channel. My name's Carissa. This is the Carissa and Brian show. That's what we call it. We just got done with most of our transfer portion of our IVF cycle. We did all of the egg retrieval stuff already. We're actually doing our IVF frozen embryo transfer on Tuesday, December 8th. We're so excited about it. You can follow along at Carissa Barzey on Instagram. We also will be sharing all the details that we shared on Instagram here as well, and maybe some more details as far as with our whole IVF process. Look for that, but today's vlog is going to be all about my IVF calendar. So the stem cycle portion of the calendar, the medication that helped, get the eggs growing, and turned out the embryos that we got that we're actually going to be able to transfer on Tuesday. Not all of them, just one. But anyway, we'll get into that stuff. Yeah, if you are new, thank you for being here. Go ahead and like this video below, subscribe. Did you see how I did that off? And yeah, let's get started. So the first medication that I'm going to share with you guys that I was on is the Menopur. Do you see this? Do you see how many boxes are right here? There was actually one additional box. So I had 7 boxes of Menopur. So you have a little powder. The little powder's in here, then you have your diluent, you mix your diluent in your powder, you mix it all up, and then you inject it. This baby burns, and you inject it in your stomach, so it's subcutaneous. So what is this medication? Well, I have some notes for you, if you can't tell with the spread. And actually all my medication is up above as well. So Menopur is used to stimulate your follicles. So it develops your eggs, and it has FSH and LH. And so it contains the follicle stimulating hormone and the luteinizing hormone. This is some good stuff. At least it was for us this cycle. Next is the Leuprolide. We use 2 medications for trigger. We use the Leuprolide and we also use the Novaril. So basically what that means is it stimulates your eggs for release. So ovulation. And I had never done both of those before with our 6 IUIs and our last IVF cycle. So the next medication I had was the Omnitrope. And I had never used Omnitrope before. It is a human growth hormone, and I did it the entire stem cycle for the most part. I was on stem shots for 12 days, and I had it for 10 days. I'm pretty sure the reason is because I just used it until it was done. And that's what they want you to do, at least my clinic. And so what Omnitrope is, like I said, it's the human growth hormone, and it is used to accelerate follicle maturation and improve egg quality. And I also think that Menopur is really good for egg quality. At least that's what I've been told. It helped me. I'm just gonna believe it. But maybe it was the Omnitrope, because we had some really awesome results. Okay, you ready for the next one? I had never done this before. I didn't know this was even a thing. Oh, by the way, there's a Leuprolide. It's just a little, their shot's another shot. And then the Omnitrope is also another shot that I believe you mix. So, right here. Okay, you ready? I've saved one of these suppositories. So, look at this. You can't even see it because you're so far. Oh, I don't have to use this. You're so far away. Okay. So, oh no. So this is a Viagra suppository. So it sounds exactly like it is. It's a suppository. You put it up the hoo-ha. And I had to do that 4 times a day. And so what it did, I guess, is it stimulated the area. It, got the blood going, and it helps thicken the lining of the uterus. My uterus does a pretty good job on on her own to thicken. So we actually didn't do that for our frozen embryo transfer cycle or our mock cycle, but I guess it helped. I don't know. It didn't really bother me. I know some people have had some bad side effects, but it didn't bother me at all. It was just weird, but it worked. So I had done this before, and this is the Follistim pen. Follistim is so easy, and I look back and I think back at all of the videos that we made with the Follistim shots, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was such a baby. But really, when you had never done that before, it makes sense maybe that I was a little bit nervous. Plus, I was terrified of needles at that point. And for me, it did burn until I experienced other medication like Menopur and realized, oh, this doesn't burn as bad as I thought. So Follistim, it comes in this little, I used to call it the golden, what did we call this? The gold liquid? Liquid gold. Liquid gold, what? Velveeta. You just put it in this pen like this. It's actually really cool. Super easy. You put the amount that you need for the stim. So this is like Menopur. It's going to stimulate your follicles and get the eggs growing, you know. So when you go in for your follicle scan, you're like, oh, how many follicles do I have today? Do I have 1, 2, 5, 17? I've never had 17. Anyway, and then you have this little needle right here. Oh, I'm just gonna show you. You twist it on, and then you've got the needle, and then you just go like this. I don't think it's gonna go though because it knows it won't do it. There's nothing in there. Anyway, it just kind of goes in really easily and super easy to inject. And you inject that in your belly. Oh, it doesn't want to come off. Okay, we'll deal with that later. Anyway, so Follistim is super easy. The difference between the Menopur and the Follistim is that Follistim just has FSH, where the Menopur also has the LH. I'm not a doctor, but that's what my notes say. So yeah, it stimulates the development, the growth of the woman's eggs in the ovaries. I also took dexamethasone. So I took it from stim day 1 to I believe stim day 11. And so honestly, I never asked why I was taking it. I was more concerned with, why am I taking Viagra? I had taken dexamethasone before with my IUI cycles, but I just kind of, I didn't ever ask. So per the internet, because we know everything on the internet is real, not. This is what it says, okay? So hopefully this is right. It's from the endocrinologyadvisor.com. So maybe. It says dexamethasone has shown to suppress progesterone secretion, making the ovary receptive to gonadotropin stimulation and improving live birth rate in infertile women. Now, I don't know how it works with IVF, but maybe that's why it was used. And then I also use the doxycycline. So doxycycline is an antibiotic. I use that before our egg retrieval and then 14 days after, I believe, a full 14 days. Because I have endometriosis. I don't know how that correlates, but that's the notes I have. And then the easiest one, okay, not the easiest one, but really one of the easiest as far as like stim shots, or not stim shots, because the stim shots are the Follistim and the Menopur. But as far as these shots go, is the Ganirelix. So easy, similar to Cetrotide. I use Cetrotide for our first IVF cycle, but we use Ganirelix. It comes in this already filled syringe. So pretty much you just take the cap off, put it in your belly, and inject it. So easy, the easiest. So the reason you use this is to prevent premature ovulation. So that is all of my protocol. That is what I took. It was a monster of medication. It filled our countertop. You'll see it. I used Post-it notes because I had so much medication. I pretty much took over our whole island here. And I put Follistim PM, because that's when I use the Follistim. Menopur, 3 vials in the morning. Stuff like that. Dexamethasone. And anyway, so we could not eat here.
This is the only thing she's organized about. Everything else is a mess.
As long as I get this right, that's all that matters. Right? So that's the medication, and now we're going to take a look at my calendar.
Keep in mind, this was just our protocol. Yours will be different. This is just what our medical professionals calculated, cooked up for us.
For us, yeah.
Yep.
Just because we needed it doesn't mean anybody else needs it.
This is just an FYI of what worked thus far for us.
I always believe it's important for you to talk to your doctors, do your research, look into the medication. What does it do? What is the typical time frame? I wish I had done more of that with our first cycle. But yeah, just because I'm on this doesn't mean you need to be on it. Oh, I forgot one medication. Okay, the Sanera patches. So these are lidocaine patches. I don't really think I needed it for the first part of our IVF cycle. I'm using it now with our progesterone in oil shots in my booty. But these are awesome. So pretty much it's just a lidocaine patch, looks like this. I have it in a bag like this, so when I dispose of it, it doesn't hurt any animals or any people. Brian gets so annoyed at me. Anyway, it's so awesome. So if you're using progesterone oil, I swear this works. If your doctor says it doesn't, did they even use it? Okay, let's show you my calendar. All right, you guys, here is my calendar for my stem cycle of my IVF cycle. So we had an antagonist with growth hormone, and we were not to try to get pregnant on our own. But right here explains the step-by-step on what we do when I first start my period. So with this doctor, we planned it all out. We planned the period, we planned when we were going to do the egg retrieval, so we knew we could schedule everything out instead of going off of my body and my cycle, because sometimes it's off. So that gave us more of a peace of mind that we just knew when things were going to be done and when we could take off work. So on June 19th is when my cycle day 1 started, so that's my period. And that's when you call the doctor's office and you let them know. And then 6/23, that's when I started taking more birth control pills and my heparin injections. So because I have a blood clotting disorder, I have to take heparin in addition to the birth control pills to, prevent blood clots. On July 13th, that is my last day of my birth control pills. So I actually had a really, really hard time on the birth control pills. We have since switched over to a different form of birth control when we need it for the cycle scheduling, but I had a really hard time. So after 7/13, I started another short cycle. But 7/16, so July 16th is when I had my first baseline ultrasound labs for my IVF cycle, and that's when payment was due. 7/18, July 18th, stem day 1, I did 3 vials of Menopur. That was a ton. And then dexamethasone in the morning. And then I did 225 IU of Follistim. Right here it says Gonal F, but I did Follistim. And I did 0.35 milliliters of Omnitrope. In addition to the Viagra, starting on stem day 1, 4 times a day. 4 times a day, that was a lot. And then that continued all the way to stem day 4. So I didn't change anything up. I did the 3 vials of Menopur in the morning, and everything has to be timed out at the same time. And then I did the 225 IU of Gonal F or the Follistim at night. And then I went in for my ultrasound labs on the 22nd. So that's stem day 5. Before the appointment, I still did the 3 vials of Menopur and the dexamethasone. Had the ultrasound labs. They want to make sure my follicles are growing and everything's looking good. And then based on that, you see how I actually wrote things in here? That's when they tell me how my protocol is changing. So that night, they kept things all the same until my next ultrasound labs, but you can't see it just yet. So I did the 225 IU of Follistim and the 0.35 of Omnitrope as well. So that continued all the way till, let's see, stem day 8. So stem day 8, 7/25. So July 25th, continued with the 3 vials of Menopur, the dexamethasone, more labs. Oh wait, we forgot this. So the medication that helps me from prematurely ovulating, we added that. And then the next morning is when we had more ultrasound labs. So we kept everything the same in the morning. And based on that, you see the pen is different, blue here, black here. Based on that, and I'm still doing the ganirelix, so I wrote that all in. So based on my ultrasound labs with my follicles and my blood work, we kept my protocol the same. I was responding really well. So the Follistim stayed at 225, and the Omnitrope was 0.35. One of the things I really liked about Dr. Riggs is even though I wanted this to be higher, I now know that he was doing exactly what my body needed. This was a ton right here, and this was perfect for my body. Everyone's different, but this was good for me. So everything stayed the same until the next appointment. So you see, you go into the doctor a lot, especially towards the end. The beginning is very, I don't want to say low key because you're still on medication, but you don't have all the appointments like you do towards the end. Stim day 10 is when we were thinking we were going to know when our egg retrieval was. I was hoping I was going to be responding really well, did the 3 vials of Menopur, the dexamethasone, the ganirelix, and had the ultrasound and labs. And I just wasn't quite ready. So we kept things the same, the 225 Falstem and the 0.35 Omnitrope. And then I went back the next day. And you guys, we live almost an hour away. So it's a little bit of a drive. Well, it depends. With traffic, it's almost an hour, 45 minutes. Stim day 11, everything stays the same in the morning. Menopur, dexamethasone, ganirelix, baseline, ultrasound and labs. Based on the results, we did the Falstem, the 225 IU Falstem, and I did not have any more Omnitrope, so I did not need to worry about that. So with the Omnitrope, pretty much they told me you use it until it's done. So I did not have any more to use on that day. I finished it on stim day 10. And then because I wasn't quite ready, so 7/20 is actually Brian's birthday. Because I wasn't quite ready, we had another stim day 12 on 7/29. And we had the Menopur, the 3 vials, the ganirelix. So I was no longer doing the dexamethasone, and we had more ultrasound and labs. And then guess what, you guys? I was ready to go. So the day before the egg retrieval is when we did the doxycycline. We started, and we triggered on the 29th. So we just stimmed in the morning on 7/29. We didn't do the Falstem, obviously, or the Omnitrope because I was done with that. But we did trigger with the Novarel on 7/29 at 9 p.m. So we did the Menopur in the morning, we triggered at night. And then also on 7/29, an hour later, we used Leuprolide at 10 p.m. And then the next day, we did Leuprolide at 10 a.m., so 12 hours later. Everything is very timed. So when they tell me to do the Novarel at 9 p.m., you do the Novarel for trigger at 9 p.m. And this is the one that went in my little tush. I don't have a little tush, but my big tush. Brian is the one that did this. And I actually was able to do all of my shots. Right, Brian? I did all of my shots. Yeah. Except for the trigger shot. So anyway, this is my protocol. It was a very, very aggressive protocol. And this is my calendar. And this was just one of the ways that I stayed organized. They did a really good job of organizing that for me. All right, so that is my protocol and that's my calendar. I hope that helped you out. Don't go off of my calendar and think that that is what you need. I just think it's a good idea to see what other people use, especially if you have a similar, infertility reason like I do with the diminished ovarian reserve, the endometriosis, or maybe just to ask questions just to see, why is it that somebody uses the Omnitrope in an IVF cycle? What about Menopur? What about, Falstem? And so just to ask questions and to ask your doctor. So anyway, thank you for watching. We're so grateful you are here. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please like this video. And we'll see you guys later. Toodles!